Simon, my friend, welcome to That's For Sure podcast. I'm so thrilled that we're doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to our conversation. Maybe we should start with some introductions. Can you just share a little bit about who you are and where you're from?
Well, my name is Simon Gioche, and I am from Kenya, but currently living and working in Estonia together with my wife and our son, who's just 15 months old today. I'm working for a fintech company at the moment, but I'm still studying theology at Biola. So doing some school online. I love ministry, but at the moment in this season, just trying to see where the Lord leads with all this. So basically that's in a nutshell about me. I hope I've answered everything.
Yeah, so Kenyan born, now living
Yes.
in Estonia, but you're quite the
Yes.
world traveler. I mean, you've spent some time in Egypt, you've spent time in California, which is where we met. Talk to me a little bit about your world travels and how you made those jumps.
Well, I would say ministry actually opened doors for me to travel. And my first travel, I was going to New Zealand for a short-term trip, which was about a month. So that was my first ever time to leave Kenya, first time to get on a plane, first time for many things. And it was so surreal because I actually didn't think it would happen because we were supposed to raise money towards that trip. And I don't think I even raised half of it. But I had very wonderful leaders who were really encouraging. And they were like, we feel like God is calling you for this trip. It's going to be important for your journey. And we just wait to see where the Lord leads. So I just signed up in faith. I was still in campus doing my undergraduate, so I didn't have much. And I didn't know so many people. But I just not so new in faith. So that was around 2014 there. And so the whole trip was a miracle. So I can tell you that on the trip, so I had we had a layover to Dubai, but the whole trip to Dubai, I thought I was dreaming. It dawned on me that I'm actually traveling to New Zealand after Dubai, and I was like, okay, so when I got there, I was like, okay, let's see where the Lord leads with this. I was excited about the travel, but it turned out to be an amazing trip that God actually, I feel, was starting to stir in my heart because that's when my desire for doing ministry really began. Because I saw God use my story powerfully to encourage young people. So before we went to New Zealand, we were told, the churches are being closed down. There are no people in churches. And so we had been prepared when we had training for 10 weeks. So we didn't expect much. But in my course of being there, seeing almost 80 young people come to faith,
Wow.
that was mind blowing. And for me, it was I felt undeserving. I was like, I didn't expect God would use me in that way.
Yeah.
Because before that, I had only shared the gospel and told the people that I had shared the gospel with to come to my church. I will introduce them to my youth pastors who would probably lead them to Christ. But that was my first time getting to lead people to Christ, praying for them, trusting Jesus, and leading them through that prayer to trust Jesus in their lives. So that was monumental moment for me. So when I came back to Kenya, I began entertaining the thought of doing ministry and just praying and waiting to see where God leads. So my desire to go to seminary started then. So that is in 2014. Praying, trusting God to open doors, applied for school, didn't get them. But I was still doing my undergraduate in engineering. But still opening my eyes towards that. And then my church leaders were also aware of my journey and seeing what the Lord was doing. And so they provided opportunities for me to serve in my church. And then in 2015, we had a trip to the US. So that was my first time I came to the US. We came for a Bana Missions Conference. I don't know if you've heard of Bana.
Yes. Yeah. They're Bana. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're a
and
big missions conference. Yeah.
yes, so we were there for like a week or two, I think two, towards Christmas around that time. And that was another like point where I felt like it was also a turning point, like God was really tugging in my heart, because after that conference, I was determined that, I feel this is where the Lord is leading me, and I'm sold out. I'm like, Lord, I am open. I am available. I'm just show me if you need me to apply anywhere, if you need me to leave everything, I will just leave and just go wherever you want to send me. And so my heart then was decided. Before that, I was still like a bit afraid because what ministry might look like, especially coming from my background, where it didn't feel like ministry was well paying or promising, as opposed to like a career as an engineer. But then after that trip was like, this is actually fulfilling and it's exciting, just the thought of where the Lord would lead. And so after the Abana conference, came back to Kenya, still continued serving the Lord in my church. And then we had an opportunity for another trip to Canada. But this time I got a visa to go, but then I for some reason, I didn't go. It was a painful moment, a church wound that actually took time to heal from. But then after I was done with school, I told my friends, I still have this visa to Canada. I've never gone there. And I had just done like an internship, which was coming to an end. I was like, what will I do? I still feel called to ministry. I'm done with my engineering at this point. Started doing some form of internship. I still feel like this is not where the Lord is calling me to do. So I'm not really enjoying the engineering job that I was doing. And then my friends were like, you know what? You have a visa. Some people are praying for visa. And for that trip, we were like 21 people who applied for visas, and only like 3 of us got the visas.
Oh, wow.
And so it was like, okay. And it was like 7-year visa. So I still had it at that time. So that was a journey of faith. So my friends really encouraged me. They were like, okay, we have one of our friends who is in Canada who can host you, so you don't need a place to stay.
Great.
You just need to find, like an air ticket, like a return ticket to go.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's do this. And so 4 of my friends, they're like, okay, we're going to give you some money towards this so that you can know that, this is serious.
Wow.
And so they sent me money. And now I was like, oh, I need to be accountable. Because I was like, I was entertaining it just as an idea. But then when they sent money, now it was like it was becoming real. And I was a journey of faith. I left Kenya now on my own without a church, just going to visit a friend, reached out to a couple of churches in Montreal. That's where I went. And I booked a return ticket for 3 months. And I can tell you, those were the most amazing time of my life, like in ministry, because I got to do street evangelism in Montreal, just going to the subways and talking to different people, sharing my faith, hearing their stories, asking them questions. And I learned a lot as well, because I would meet people with different faith beliefs. And then I was like, it was really exciting. And then after that, after Canada, the 3 months, I went back to Kenya, and I was like, this is it. I think this is where the Lord is calling me. So I go back to Kenya, and I started working in a church as leadership training. And while there, I mentioned of my desires for cross-cultural ministry because of how God had used me. And because I was very vocal about it, when the opportunity for Mariners who partners with the church back in Kenya came, they're like, we know the right person to select for this. So I was the one who was selected. And I was still fairly new in that church, actually. It's just like I'd barely been a year. But the partnership, so it's like a partnership that the church had. And so it was like, a 1 year program, 6 months in Egypt, and then 6 months in the US. And then
Mhm.
I came to the US, and that's how I met you.
Yeah.
So those are my travels. I know they feel like it's a long story, but I was just trying to cut short and summarize. But
Yeah.
basically, those have been my travels. And yeah, and now I'm in Estonia. I didn't even know where Estonia
Right.
was. Yeah, so,
Well, I had to
but
look it
yeah.
up on a map. I knew it was in Europe, but I have no idea where in Europe. So how did you end up, you, your wife, your sweet little baby, how did you all end up in Estonia of all places?
Yeah, so after coming back from the US, my wife, then my friend, very good friend, who we were working together in youth ministry, um, she had expressed some desire to go do her master's, and she was looking at some countries that she wanted to go to. And one of our friends had come to Estonia and had seen the amazing opportunities that were in Estonia. It wasn't a hard country to go to, like in terms of students
Okay.
who want to pursue further studies.
Sure.
And because a few of her friends had already come to Estonia, so she decided to do that. And then, since we don't have an Estonian embassy in Kenya, the embassy is in Egypt. And because I had been to Egypt, so my friend, my wife now, then my friend was like, so we talked about it, and I was like, okay, if you want to go to Egypt, I have some friends I can really connect you. And so in that season, we were talking a lot. Our friendship really grew, and then eventually, we were like, okay, either we go forward with our friendship at this point because we're becoming so close,
Mhm.
and we're like, okay, let's see where this goes. Let's see if this is what the Lord has in store for us. And so she went to school. She came to school in Estonia. So while we were still like we were still dating. Um, so it was like an online dating at that time because she
Sure.
was far away. Long distance relationship for
Yeah.
lack of a better word. Yeah. So she came to school, and she was still doing school, but then we were still I told her I am I'm really serious about settling down, and I really want to move forward. I feel like, this is the season and God is calling me to it. Just so if we're not sure about this, like we need to be sure about this, and we talked about it, I think the Lord it seems like he was affirming us through
Mhm.
our various friends and people from church, and we decided to go forward with it. And I visited her parents in her absentia. So I'm just going to ask for blessings from her parents while she was not there. And
Good job.
God affirmed us also in that. So that was amazing because it's like 5 hours away from the city where I was. And
Okay.
I had
Wow.
never met them before. And it was the first time. And we were not sure how it's going to go. And one of her prayers was, if her dad likes me, then it's like one of the confirmation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so long story short, uh, we got the blessings from parents, and we started planning and proposed virtually at some point. And then, like, let's start planning for these things. Let's trust God for
Yeah.
this journey forward. And we saw God come through in amazing ways. And then she came to Kenya. I proposed officially now at
Okay.
the airport, just waiting for her with a couple of my friends. And we got married, and then we stayed together for like a month or so.
Yeah.
And then she went back to
You had to
school.
go back.
And then
Yeah.
I started planning now towards joining her in Estonia.
Okay.
So,
That's
yeah.
great.
So that's
That's
how I ended
great.
up in Estonia.
Yeah, that's so
Yes.
fun. Well, because I was looking up exactly where Estonia was on a map, I
Mhm.
was looking into some of the like demographics and just facts about it, on
Sure.
Wikipedia. And
Mhm.
I learned some interesting things about this country that I wasn't very familiar with before. One is that it's one of the least corrupt countries in the world. I,
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
yes,
But
least one of the
it's,
least corrupt.
oh, nice. I didn't know that. But I can tell you that it's really a nice country. I just love governance here. It's amazing.
Yeah.
My wife is on parental leave at the moment, government paid for 1.5 years.
Oh, awesome.
So she's been taking care of our son. We
Yeah.
don't have to worry about
Wow, that's
anything.
incredible.
So amazing. The systems here work. Yeah, the
Yeah.
only challenge is the language, of course, but we
Sure.
are trying to learn. But it's an amazing country. And of course, winter now. Winter is upon us. It's very cold outside,
Yeah.
and darkness actually starts to get in at around 3 p.m.
Wow.
or
Yeah, I was going to
3-ish.
ask. So,
Yeah.
because we're in such different time zones, you can probably see the sun is on my screen. It was shining so bright on one side because the sun is just coming up here, but it's afternoon, I think, for you. So that means it's getting
Yeah.
dark already.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's getting dark actually. When I check out the window, it's like it's getting dark outside.
That's so
So that's
funny.
why
Here
I
I
had
am.
to put my light on.
Yeah.
Couldn't rely on natural light.
Yeah, here I have the natural light coming in. It'll blind me here in just a moment. That's so
Yeah.
funny. But yeah, the other thing I learned is that fascinatingly enough, I think it's fascinating. The largest religion in Estonia is irreligion, which basically
Yes.
is no religion at all. So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
thought that was
Yes.
very fascinating. And then Christianity is about 26% of the country. So what do you see God doing through the church in Estonia right now?
Well, I see some bit of hunger in the people that I've just gotten to interact with. So when I talk to the people that we go to church with, they say they are sensing some form of revival. Um, yeah, but I have found that because of the country being very small, it's the best way. It's like forming relationships. So the people
Yeah.
crave relationships and fellowship, not necessarily coming to faith because they have history with Christianity and how things happen. So some of them are not very keen on Christian
Mhm.
faith. I have a friend who's calls himself an atheist, doesn't believe, but we still hang out and we still talk.
Yeah.
So he works in a different country, but whenever he's in Estonia, he always looks for me. So he's come to our place. We talked. He asked me what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm studying theology, and all that. So we just have conversations here and there. And so I've seen once you get to know them, they are very loyal and they want to keep with this friendship. So I see like that as an avenue for where the gospel comes in.
Sure.
In my experience going different places, there's some places where it was more of, evangelism out there, just going on the streets and sharing the gospel. And in this context, it's more of getting into relationship, forming meaningful friendships, and hopefully God can do something in that. So
Yeah.
it's more of like a marathon. It's not
Yep.
like the way I was doing in Montreal, just going out there and doing street evangelism, proclaiming the gospel to strangers.
Yeah.
It's been a bit different here. I see God is doing something. It might not look like it's really happening, but it's like the way you see a tip of the iceberg, but there's something on the low, like
Sure.
happening.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel. And we've just been asking ourselves, me and my wife, what God would have us do, whether we're here in the long term or it's for a short time. But we're like, we want to be faithful. So we are plugged into a church here. My wife serves as volunteers as an administrator. And sometimes I serve in the worship team whenever I have time, and prayer ministry here. So it's a small church, not as big. Yeah, churches are not doing very well in terms of especially finances. So it's hard. When I came here, I thought I would still continue with ministry, but then realized that I might not get employment through ministry, but I could serve in other capacities. So that's what we've been trying to do in trying to see where the Lord leads us.
Well, he's always doing something. And I love the iceberg illustration that you gave, because oftentimes what we can see is so limited, right? It's so small compared to the greatness that God is up to in the world. And I think, yeah, we just can't see it. But of course he loves Estonia and all the every person there. And so we can trust that he's actively working, and to have you there is really neat too. I think it's an exciting, element to your story. And it'll be interesting to see, what happens in the future. And you mentioned music. I love that you're doing music ministry. I know that's important to you, and you have a music video on YouTube.
Yes, I do.
It's
Yes,
really
I do.
good, Simon. It's really, really good. It's called Brought Me This Far. It's really good. It's a song about your story, your life story. And there, you have a line in it that I wrote down because I thought it was really a powerful. Did you write the lyrics?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it's okay. It sounds like you. It says, this is my favorite line in the song. It says, he's the great author of my story. Now I know I don't need to worry, because he has my future, or he's got my future in his hands. It is such a simple words, and yet an incredibly profound truth that we can anchor to. And I wonder if you could share a little bit about the song, or a little bit about your story, and how you've come to know that these words are absolutely true.
Yeah, sure. So basically, so the song is my story, so it's my testimony. I was trying to figure out ways that I can put my testimony in things that I love. At that time, I was really passionate about music. I still am, but not as at that time. I wanted to do music. At some point, I wanted to quit school and do music, because I've done a couple of songs, but recorded a few. At least I got a chance to record that music video and that song in a proper studio. So it's a story about my life. And I've shared this with some people out there, how I lost my mom when I was 6.5 years. So probably, so in the song it says 7, just felt like it rhymes, but it's around 6.5 years. And my mom was murdered by my dad. And I was there when it happened. So I watched my biological mom die. So my dad slit her throat, and she fell on my legs, and she bled to death. And my dad, seeing what he had done, he stabbed himself in the belly, but he didn't die. He was taken to the hospital, but my mom didn't survive. And so the last time I ever saw my dad was when I was called to testify, because I was there when it happened. So I was raised by my grandma, who was not well off, but she had this amazing faith, just trusting that somehow God is going to take care of me. And so she was always telling me, you will study to the highest level, God will still provide. And it didn't make sense at that time, because she didn't have a lot of money that she could even take me to school or something. But somehow God really provided. I got some sponsors from the US. I think they were from Oregon, who paid for my schooling until I got to university. And then university, because I had done well, the school, the government paid for, so subsidized. So I had I didn't have to pay much for my engineering degree. So, and this is like in hindsight, just looking at how God came through and how he provided for me.
Yeah.
And also looking at the things that I had to deal with growing up. Because I was young, my relatives thought maybe I would forget, but that image is still fresh in my mind. Like when I close my eyes, I see the replica of that day. Emotions have changed over the years. There was a time I couldn't tell this story without crying, but over time, just God has helped me and has used this story actually for his glory in many ways that I've seen him do. And so growing up without a mom and having daddy issues, and having be brought up by also like my grandma who had also lost her daughter. So it's equally painful even for her.
Sure.
But just having that faith that God has His hand over my life. So even when I was still struggling with these identity issues and struggling with things that I couldn't even articulate or process, because it happened when I was very young. And it was until I joined campus. So as much as I grew up in church, going to church, I wouldn't say I had really understood my relationship with Christ. And so going to uni for my undergraduate, at some point I was lost because I gave into things that I was looking for this meaning, looking for this identity.
Yeah.
And I was looking for it in places that I thought would give me that. And what it did is I ended up feeling even more lost, and not finding, what I was looking for, until God had mercy on me. And in the university in Nairobi, my undergraduates, I happened to meet the Lord at the church where now they give me all this opportunity, and who helped me even process. So I got counseling like in university. Like I had a pastor who helped me process what that meant, and how even that came up was on a Father's Day at church. People were celebrating their dads, and for some reason, I just broke down. The emotions were really heavy, and at that moment, that's when I started now to connect the dots of all these things that I had been missing, all these things that I had been craving, but no one could provide. But now coming to, this community of faith that has embraced me, and just beginning this journey of healing, and God helping me process all these things that I had tried to, that I tried to heal that wound that only God could heal. And so I found an amazing community who helped me process through that, and process what forgiveness looked like. And at some point, I was like, you know what? I forgive my dad. I have nothing against him. I don't know where he's at. I don't know if he's still living or not. But it was for my my good, just to let go and let God deal with it. And so just looking back at all the things now, this journey since losing my mom, and seeing how even in those times when I wasn't aware of God in my life, He was still sovereignly guiding me. And now coming to faith, and now seeing in hindsight how God has guided me, and how He has provided for me over the years, and now being in this community of faith, understanding Him as my Heavenly Father. I didn't have a dad, like now growing up, but now I understand God as a father, and getting to see this image of Him as a caring Father. And so the testimony behind the song is just being able to see that God is actually a Father who cares about me, and He provided even in those times when I didn't even know about it. And my grandma had this unwavering faith that God would still care for me, and now I can live to testify that He actually did. My grandma always tells this testimony that she didn't have to spend a dime on me. Just God provided in miraculous ways, and all these doors that He opened for me. He just tells stories, some countries that she can't even pronounce. Right now, she just says I'm somewhere in Europe, because she didn't get a chance to study. And every time I travel to go do ministry, she's like, He's doing the Lord's work somewhere out there in the world. So I do see that He indeed is the great author of my story. That despite all the things that could have messed me up completely, even when I could have messed up my own life, trying to fill that void that only Him could, now I see that, you know what, His sovereign hand was guiding me, and I don't need to worry. He has my future in His hands. So in a nutshell, so I just see how He continues to guide me. Like right now, I'm living an answered prayer. I craved for family for a very long time, and now he has blessed me with his amazing wife, an amazing child, and I'm getting again to discover a relationship, to understand even God better. Now that I have a son,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm seeing another aspect of God that I had not even seen, just on the virtue that now I'm a father. And it's amazing just to see how God works and how he's still working, and the things that I really trusted him for, and seeing how he's brought to fruition, even though like not my timing. Like I desired to go to seminary, but didn't go until like 7 years later when I had that desire. But here I am, still not paying for school. My school is on a full scholarship, so that's still God's providence at Biola. I don't think I would ever even think of paying for my school because it would be impossible.
Sure.
But in his ways, he has provided. So he indeed is the great author of my story. And I know that with him, I don't have to worry because my future is in his hands.
Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful song. We're going to link to it in the show notes so folks can check it out, because you do have an amazing story, Simon, where it is so evident that God has been with you since day one of your little life and has just walked before you through up till now. And it just gives us such hope that he'll continue to, because he's so faithful and he's so kind. And your little baby is just the cutest. And so I just love the blessing that you're getting to experience now as being a father, considering your story. And how cool. Only with God, right? It's such a blessing. So if there might be somebody listening that's walking through a painful season, it might look different than yours. But somebody that's really kind of in that moment of wrestling with, where is God in my story? Where is he at work here? And they don't have the hindsight yet, just yet. What encouragement might you have for someone that's sitting in that struggle at the moment, that's just really looking for God, but is having a hard time finding where he might be at work in their life?
One of the helpful ways that I've come to see and also like witness in my life is knowing that God doesn't belittle our feelings, that we can come to him unedited, just bring these emotions to him, what you're feeling. My favorite verse is Philippians 4:6-7. About do not be anxious about anything, but with prayer and petition with thanksgiving, make your request known to God, and his peace that transcends all human understanding will guard your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. And so my life has been anchored on this verse, and I have seen the verse come alive in so many ways that I believe that God doesn't belittle my emotions. So whatever I'm feeling is valid, and those are real. So I wouldn't say don't worry. Sometimes it's easy to say don't worry, but what I will say, bring these anxieties or these worries that you might be having, or these questions that you might be having. God, where are you? Like, just open up to God the way you are. Like, ask these things that you're dealing with, because they're real. People might not understand. I may not understand. You might not understand, but I do believe that God does understand. And this is a beautiful thing that God does when we come to him unedited, is that he helps us process whatever thing that we are dealing with. And he begins to open our eyes to see how he is working. And I think someone once told me that life is meant to be lived forward and understood backwards. And I see how true that is, because I've had, even after knowing that God is still guiding me, there are some instances where I've been in those moments where I'm like, I can't see it. I'm like, God, where are you in all this? Even when I know all these stories, but I've seen God allow me to bring these things to him. Just lay bare, lament, bring, sometimes we're told we've forgotten the art of lamenting. Like, bring these things to God, allow him to heal you, allow him to work with you to process whatever it is. And then with time, again, I have seen God's faithfulness in helping us process those things. And sometimes it might not be the answering the prayers the way we want them, but for sure I have seen his peace guarding, guarding us from either making more mistakes or, going the wrong way. But these emotions or this pain and all these things that might be pent up, God using them for our good and for His glory. And later on, that story can be used to encourage someone. Who would have thought a story of a young boy losing their mom, watching their mom die, would be used by God to encourage others to trust in Him? It's only over time that I can see that actually it's for His glory that God has opened doors for me to share my story. I've shared how God has come through and that it has inspired hope.
Yeah, that's awesome, Simon. If I were to title this episode, I would title it "Bring It to God Unedited."
Yes.
Such wisdom in those words, and that's such encouragement. So that really just ministered to me too. So I appreciate you sharing those words, and I love the idea of anchoring, and that's why I call the show "That's for Sure," because I really love the idea of anchoring to what we're absolutely sure is true about God. And there's so many things that come at us in so many different circumstances and life's ups and downs, and just it's like whiplash some days walking through this life. But because of the grace of God and because of His the gift of His word to us and His kindness, we have things that we can anchor to in Him that can really hold us steady despite the crashing waves or the tornado that's swirling around. And so I love to ask this question. It'll be the last question I ask you today, but what do you know to be absolutely true about the character of God? What is the thing that you really hold on and anchor to in your life on a day-to-day basis, or something that you continually return back to about who the character of God is?
That God is indeed faithful, even when we are faithless. He is dependable, and we can rely on Him and know that He actually does love us, and He wants what is best for us. And what our best is and how we define it might not be how He defines it, but we can trust Him. So He is a faithful God.
Simon, thank you so much for taking the time to encourage and to come on, that's for sure, and to share your story, to encourage folks. You have such a beautiful family. And for me personally, getting some time with you about 5 years ago, we figured it was 5 years ago that we got to minister side by side in California, was just an absolute gift to me. I loved watching you, learning from you, doing ministry next to you. You're a true brother, and I'm really just grateful to know you. And so thank you so much. I love your family. And hopefully one day we'll meet and I'll get to see your sweet little boy. But thank you so much for taking the time to do this, Simon. I'm just truly grateful.
Thank you, Carrie, for having me. And I'm glad that God can see fit that can use my story as well, just to encourage people through your platform. And I pray that indeed people will come to know Him as a faithful God, as a loving, independent Father that they can trust. So thank you.